This is a dude who, as a rookie, came out the gates really slow. Amon-Ra St. Brown, maybe not that great of a player. That's what the haters would say.
Haters.
About Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Look at the release.
There's your separation.
Great route.
Stutter and go. Gets by clean.
That is unbelievable.
Maybe the greatest catch I've ever seen.
I called Amon-Ra St. Brown like a Bud Light Cooper Kupp in his pre-draft profile, and then he ends up getting drafted by a former Rams front office guy and the team with the former Rams quarterback in the Detroit Lions. And I still feel like when you look at his RP profile, we talked about Cooper Kupp earlier, they look really, really similar. I think he's still Bud Light Cooper Kupp. When you look at Amon-Ra St. Brown in his game sampled for reception perception, 70.5% of his snaps in the slot and was off the line of scrimmage on 80% of his routes. Again, that's very Cooper Kupp-esque. And what do you know? He faced zone coverage on 67% of his routes, and he had an 80.5% success rate versus zone coverage. Like, that's good. It's not the typical, like we said before, success rate versus man coverage has been a really important indicator, for breakout receivers. Amon-Ra St. Brown's not that guy. Now, he's not like bottom barrel of the league. He's a 21st percentile, but he's not that traditional X receiver beater. But the more, like we said, Josh Scott's article on the website, definitely check it out. It's free. If you want it, you can check it out. You see that the more players line up in the slot, the more they line up off the line of scrimmage, the more important their success rate versus zone coverage is. So I want to be buying this archetype of player, the Bud Light Cooper Kupp archetype of player, these slot receivers who get a lot of layup targets. Let's break down the argument, the anti Amon-Ra St. Brown argument. Everybody wants to tell you, well, he only got targets last year because everybody else was hurt. That's, there were guys injured. Sure. It was also a terrible wide receiver depth chart, and they've certainly added guys to the position. I mean, we're talking like Khalif Raymond, total goofballs, but they were also giving Amon-Ra St. Brown, and we see this with rookies after his bye week, was starting to get a playing time bump, a routes run bump, a snaps bump. All of that stuff is happening anyways. And the longer he played, the more they had him in this correct role. Like, I did the midseason rookie report for Amon-Ra St. Brown on the website, before kind of his breakout. It's like, they're having this guy run like deep routes. They're having him play too much outside. Like, they need to get, and they figured that out the longer he played. They figured out the player the longer they played, and he was good, and the team won. They were, they were 2-2 down the stretch. The haters say this, they deliver this as if it's some revelation, a hammer nail that, like, he's not going to average 11 targets per game like he did at the end of last season. Well, no shit, he's not going to average 11 targets per game. That's why he's not going in the second round in fantasy drafts. He's going as he's consensus ranked like wide receiver 32. And I've got him ranked higher than that because I believe in the player, and I believe he's going to hold this role down.
So that's kind of like that mid-round capital, I think, for a player that's, again, he was a freaking rookie last year. Actually, let me ask you this, man. I'm curious, right? Because obviously he is a classic, like, rookie story, right? Like, rookie archetype wide receiver, where rookie wide receivers, they don't do well early on. And then as the season develops, oh my gosh, they really start taking off. And that's exactly the storyline that we saw with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Do you recall when you charted his earlier games, did you see that improvement and that development as well? Or was it all, again, was his production all just tied to volume? Or was it, again, volume plus, and we've talked about it a lot, that you get volume because you're better, you know what I mean? Because you're separating, you earn those targets.
Yep.
So what did you see early season, late season with Amon-Ra?
Some of it could be that they just figured out the role. I'm telling you, watching him, for the midseason rookie report, he was running a 9 route on 28 points. I'm pulling up the route chart here from this. 20.8% of his routes were 9 routes, which is crazy. That's not the player he is.
That's insane.
By the end of his RP sample by the end of his RP sample for the final results, it was 12.2%. So that's a huge drop off. Like, he was below the NFL average on 9 routes. His post route rate had come down. His dig route rate had come down. And you know which ones had gone up? The slant, the flat, those layup routes. That's what you want Amon-Ra St. Brown to be doing.
Yes.
And overall, that bled into the success rates too. Like, from a success rate versus coverage standpoint, he was not where he was much better at the end of the season. So I agree. Like, these rookies, it's on the, I think it's partly team, but it's also partly player. The players get better and the teams figure these guys out more.
So it's interesting to me when you compare Amon-Ra St. Brown to another player archetype that I think is similar to what he does, and that's Hunter Renfrow. Both of us, we kind of live on Twitter, and you see what people are saying. You kind of get an idea of what you're crowdsourcing, kind of what the attitude is with some of these players. And man, Hunter Renfrow, it's all just positive vibes, oh, Hunter Renfrow is a good player, oh man, he's going to, Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow. And then when you talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown, it's like, oh, flash in the pan, everyone was injured. There's no, you know what I mean? And of course there are people who are stout, like staunch Amon-Ra St. Brown enthusiasts as well. But it is kind of interesting that Amon-Ra has become like this like polarizing player versus Hunter Renfrow is this like just like consensusly, like everyone just kind of, that's not even a word, but just everyone kind of sort of like likes this guy. You look at their numbers in reception perception, and dude, they're so similar in terms of success rate versus man coverage. Again, Hunter Renfrow is at 63.7%. Amon-Ra St. Brown is at 60.3%. Hunter Renfrow was at 81.6% success rate versus zone versus Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was 80.4. So very similar in terms of what these guys do and where they are successful as well. So I don't know. I find that to be interesting, man.